This summer, an all-new male banner. As Chaldea heads to Vegas, masters can take the greatest gamble of all. A lucky few will summon the single greatest servant in the game, Merlin. However, for most of us... Meet Siegfried. Hello everyone, and welcome to How to Solve a Problem, where we break down a servant and issues within their kit and try to come up with some solutions. Today's episode is on 4-star Saber, Siegfried. Despite his poor reputation, he has decent latent potential, and rather interestingly, is a rarity amongst servants in that he comes summoned with 2 active skills available. Siegfried is a servant with 2 primary functions, wave clearing and dragon hunting. Let's look a bit deeper. Siegfried farms waves of enemies via his Buster Noble Phantasm, the area of effect Saber Beam Balmung. He can significantly boost its damage through his Soul Steroid, Dragon Slayer A++, which post rank up increases his buster damage by 50% for 1 turn. This is optimally used when Siegfried's 2 Buster command cards are available, allowing him to perform a powerful Balmung-led Buster Brave Chain that can do serious damage to the enemy. To that end, it is vital to fill his NP gauge. Despite lacking a battery like 4-star contemporary Gawain, he boasts a double art stack, in addition to solid NP gain through his first skill, Golden Rule rank C-, which increases his NP gain by up to 37% for 3 turns. Why C-? Furthermore, he has various suitable support options like Merlin, Shakespeare, and Cheng Gong, who can provide him NP batteries, and their own art-centric decks allow Siegfried's own pair of arts cards to easily feature in Art's Brave Chains. Balmung itself also comes with a post-damage NP gain buff of 20% for 3 turns. Taken together with supports and the Golden Rule, this could begin the trek for a second Siegfried Noble Phantasm later in the battle. His Dragon Slayer skill is also the gateway to his second niche, that of an anti-dragon specialist, harking back to the Nibelungen lead. It boosts his anti-dragon damage by up to 80% for 3 turns, allowing him to do phenomenal damage to various dragon-kind enemies. Wyvern dragons, dragon dragons, Artoria Pendragons. Siegfried can take center stage in these lineups, particularly with Balmung, as its overcharge effect further increases his damage against dragon enemies. Thus, masters may want to save up their support's NP batteries and his own NP gain buffs, in order to allow Siegfried to fire 2 Noble Phantasms across the anti-dragon buff's 3 turns, making him a formidable anti-dragon damage dealer. However, there are numerous issues within his kit. While he is far from being fundamentally broken, in fact he has good potential, there are areas he needs work. For the purposes of this video, we're only going to focus on 2 central problems, to which we'll try to find a solution. Compared to many of his wave-clearing 4-star Saber peers, Siegfried's damage numbers are quite mediocre. Not only does he have one of the lowest attacks of all 4-star servants, but along with Saber Lily, he is the only 4-star AoE Saber who lacks 2 generalized attack buffs within their kit. Furthermore, while his Buster buff is impressive in terms of value, it only lasts for a single turn, lacking the sustainable damage of many of his rivals, while the lack of any form of critical buff or other type of steroid beyond his Buster buff means he lacks damage versatility aside from against dragons. While there are remedies to several of these issues, such as pairing him with party supports like Merlin or fellow farmers Gawain and Saber Alter who do have party-wide attack buffs, Siegfried really stands out as having inferior damage potential, significantly less damage variety, and being easily the least self-sustainable of all of these options. Thankfully, this issue does not extend towards his damage against dragons, although he may not always be an ideal choice against them. This is because dragons are mostly riders. Thus, he lacks class advantage against them. Furthermore, he makes for an awkward bedfellow with the largely quick and arts-laden assassin class. However, at higher levels, the Dragon Slayer buff and his Noble Phantasm Balmung's overcharge effect actually mean his damage is often superior to theirs, by quite some margin. However, in later chapters of the story, and even heading into the Lost Belts, we start to see a greater number of Lancer dragons begin to appear. Woe betide any Lancer-class dragons. However, his damage against non-dragon folk remains mediocre. Of course, there is always the not-so-practical, but certainly enjoyable, George's strat. Wearing the Armour of Fafnir, Siegfried is an indestructible hero, shrugging off all attacks ranked below B+. Yeah, not quite. In-game, he has an enormous amount of health, at level 100, the most of any saber in the game, and a debuff clear with minor healing on his second skill, Disengage. Impressive, maybe, but indestructible? No. Absolutely not. Having defined our two central problems, issues with damage and a lack of hard protection, let's look at what kind of fixes are possible. How do you solve a problem like Siegfried? Now for this first option, I've actually divided it into two different choices. This would essentially turn Siegfried's Disengage rank A skill into either Dragon's Blood rank B+, or Self-Sacrificing Hero rank A. Let's start with the first. Dragon's Blood B+ would add 3 new effects. The first would be to increase his attack by as much as 30% for 1 turn. This gives him that essential second buff that he's currently lacking that could dramatically increase that 1 turn damage. The second is to increase his defense by as much as 30% for 3 turns. This shows Armour of Fafnir's defensive properties in a way that his high base health and disengage skill really just fail to do. But the final trait is actually a debuff, and this is not one that can be cleared by debuff removal. And this debuff prevents Siegfried from applying Evade, Invincibility, or another soon-to-arrive buff that serves a similar purpose, for 3 turns. This mirrors his legend, where the leaf on his back, which prevented the dragon's blood from touching the entirety of his body, comes back to haunt him. Siegfried can be defensively capable, nigh invulnerable, but not invincible. The alternative choice, Self-Sacrificing Hero rank A, instead focuses on his more, well, self-sacrificing elements, while providing many of the same buffs. It still provides the 1-turn attack buff and 3-turn defensive buff, but instead of the debuff that prevents him from applying either evade or invincibility, he instead casts a 1-turn taunt upon himself. This reflects Siegfried's selfless nature as a hero. Siegfried is willing to put himself in the firing line for his allies, as has been seen in many fake media before. And here, he'll do it again.
Sumanai.
In this second option, his Disengage skill is instead upgraded to Armour of Fafnir rank B+. This skill would apply invincibility for 1 turn for Siegfried, giving him that hard protection that he so far lacks. In addition, it would boost his max HP by as much as 3,000 for 5 turns. Furthermore, it means he has a debuff clear, an increase to his max HP, slight healing, and some form of hard protection. Now this sounds more like Armour of Fafnir. This upgrades Golden Rule rank C- into Fafnir's Treasure rank A. In addition to the decent NP gain value of Golden Rule, it also brings a critical strength buff of up to 30% for 3 turns, in addition to a critical star gather rate buff of 500% also for 3 turns. This newfound critical damage buff helps diversify Siegfried's offense, helping in terms of his offensive versatility, while its 3-turn duration vastly improves his offensive sustainability. While this is not a direct aid to either of his current niches, it makes him a far more well-rounded offensive servant, able to stack up and compete against his rivals, like Gawain. So there are the 3 options. Leave in the comments which one you prefer, and tell me, are you rolling the male banner this upcoming summer? I certainly am, of course, for Merlin, although as I said at the start, we're probably going to be seeing a lot of Siegfried. But as we've seen here, that may not be such a bad thing. I've been Seeing Dunes, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, please leave a like, comment and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.